There's a kind of loneliness that's hard to explain. It's not about being physically alone. It's the ache you feel even in a crowded room, the sense that no matter how many people are around, no one really sees you. You wonder if you're just becoming distant, too sensitive, too intense, or maybe you're simply waking up. Carl Jung believed that the path of individuation, the journey of becoming who you truly are, begins with separation. Separation from the roles you used to play, from the masks you wore to be loved, from the crowd you once tried so hard to blend into. And when you stop performing, something strange happens. People around you begin to pull away. Conversations grow shallow. Connections that once felt warm now feel heavy or forced. But here's the truth. No one tells you that pain you feel, that disconnection. It's not failure, it's initiation. You are not broken. You are simply no longer vibrating at the frequency of who you used to be. And as you align with your truth, everything that was built on illusion begins to fall away. It hurts, it's confusing, but it's also sacred. This video is not about fixing the loneliness. It's about understanding it, honoring it, and walking with it, not as your enemy, but as your guide back home to yourself. Because what feels like isolation is often the beginning of awakening. The disconnection begins when you stop pretending. At first, you don't even notice it. You just start being more honest, saying no when you used to say yes, allowing silence where you used to fill space, choosing rest instead of performance, truth instead of agreement. And slowly the people begin to change around you. Carl Jung taught that the persona, the mask we wear for the world, is necessary for survival. But when the mask becomes your identity, you lose connection to your true self. And when you begin to take that mask off, it disrupts the dynamic of every relationship built around it. Friends start to feel distant. Family members don't know how to talk to you anymore. Co-workers glance sideways as if something about you is off. But it's not that you've become someone else, it's that you've stopped pretending. And when your vibration no longer matches the performance others are used to, they don't always adjust, they retreat. You feel it most in conversations. People grow uncomfortable with your clarity. They miss the version of you that was easy to control, easy to predict, easy to ignore. You're not hostile, you're just more real. And in a world addicted to masks, realness is disruptive, but don't mistake the distance as rejection. It's recalibration. Your energy is now filtering out anything that can't meet you in truth. This is the beginning of the shedding, of the untangling, of the liberation. And though it may feel like you're losing people, you're really just losing the illusion that you needed to keep them. You begin to feel the emptiness of soulless connections. You try to go back to the chats, the routines, the small talk, to the places where people laugh but nothing is really said, and it feels hollow. What once felt warm now feels like noise. What once felt like friendship now feels like performance. You sit among others and wonder, is anyone truly here? Carl Jung wrote that as we move closer to our inner self, the soul begins to reject what is false. Not out of pride, but out of necessity. You're not better than them, you're just different now. More tuned in, more honest, more sensitive to what's missing between the words. And what's missing is depth. You long for conversations that awaken you, for presence that doesn't need to be explained, for connection that feels like soul meeting soul, not roles meeting roles. But that kind of connection is rare, and in the meantime, there's silence. It's not that you hate people, you just feel like you're not with them even when you're beside them. This is the space between worlds, where the old no longer fits and the new has yet to arrive. You grieve people who are still alive. You outgrow dynamics you once depended on, and you begin to realize it was never about how many people you had. It was about how deeply you were allowed to exist in their presence. Now, your soul is asking for something real, and until it finds it, it will keep pulling you away from anything less. The ego suffers, but the self begins to awaken. There's a quiet pain in this phase. The phone doesn't ring like it used to. The invitations stop. People you thought were forever fade, and something in you begins to panic. You wonder, did I do something wrong? You question your path. You consider shrinking again just to feel wanted, just to be included. This is the ego, grieving its attachments, grieving the identity that kept you safe, liked, and predictable, grieving the tribe that celebrated your mask, but never truly met your soul. Carl Jung called this stage the beginning of individuation, the moment when the true self begins to rise from beneath the rubble of your roles. It doesn't rise with glory. It rises with grief, with silence, with loneliness that hums beneath your skin, because the self doesn't need approval, but the ego does. And now they're separating, one dissolving, the other awakening. You might feel like a ghost in your own life, present, but not part of it, surrounded, but not seen. And that's okay, because this disconnection is sacred. It's the threshold between who you were and who you're becoming. You're not lost. You're being reassembled, stripped of the noise, held in the quiet, invited to become someone your past could never fully contain. So let the ego ache, let the silence stretch, and trust what's falling. Away isn't punishing you, it's freeing you, because only in the stillness does the self begin to speak. The sense of belonging shifts from the outside to the inside. You used to seek it in people, in being invited, in being needed, in the way others smiled when you entered the room. It felt like belonging, but it was survival, a way to soothe the part of you that feared being forgotten. But after the silence, after the shedding, you realize something profound. Belonging isn't out there. It's never been about being accepted by others. It's about being anchored in yourself. Carl Jung taught that the self is not dependent on the collective to feel whole. It is complete within itself. And when you begin living from that center, your definition of connection changes. You no longer chase closeness for comfort. You no longer silence your truth just to stay liked. You no longer panic when you're misunderstood, because the more you belong to yourself, the less you beg for crumbs of recognition. Now, peace matters more than performance. Truth matters more than tradition. Presence matters more than popularity. And something beautiful happens. You start attracting others who are walking the same quiet path, not many but enough. People who don't need you to be smaller. People who see you, not your reflection in their projections. These are the real ones, the sacred few, the soul mirrors, and you find that the space once filled by crowds feels better when held by just one person who truly sees you. You belong now, not because they chose you, but because you finally chose yourself. You are not disconnected. You are returning to what's real. It may feel like disconnection, like exile, like you've been pushed to the edges of everyone else's world. But what if that's not what's happening? What if the noise is falling away so you can hear your soul again? What if the distance is protection? What if the loneliness is not a punishment, but an invitation? Carl Jung believed that the path toward wholeness is not crowded. It is often walked alone, because only in solitude do we face the parts of ourselves we've spent a lifetime avoiding. And only by meeting ourselves can we meet life fully. What you're feeling is not isolation. It's recalibration. It's your soul calling your energy back, piece by piece, layer by layer, so that what remains is true. And from that truth, a new kind of connection will emerge. Quieter, rarer, but deeper, rooted not in fear, but in resonance. Until then, honor the space, honor the silence, honor the ache that brought you here. Because what you thought was disconnection was your soul refusing to fake one more thing. If this spoke to something in you, write in the comments, "I trust my solitude. It reconnects me to what is real." Let that be your reminder that even when you feel far from the world, you are walking toward yourself. And that above all is the most sacred reunion of all.